allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Jason Tron.
Here.
Julie Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Bard.
Here.
Robin Cleek.
Here.
Wes Poland. Here. Matt Jacobs.
Here.
Sonali Pato.
Here. So the first item is presentation from Townline Elementary School by Dr. Kiefer and Mr. Smart.
We did practice this. Good evening. My name is Dr. Kiefer, I'm the principal of Townline, and I have my partner in crime, Mr. Smart, here.
Oh.
Can you tell the board what your role is in Science Olympiad?
Yeah, I was a co-coordinator and a coach for a few of the different events that we had.
Okay, 3 of them actually. You worked hard last year. So this coming school year is our 3rd year doing Science Olympiad. So we wanted to give you an overview of what Science Olympiad is all about. So it's going to be in 2 parts. First part is a very short 1-minute video, and the second part you're going to hear from the kids. Overview. They have roughly 10 to 12 events per year, and they're adding ones every year. So let's hear from the kids. So introduce yourself. What's your name? And what do you get out of being a Science Olympiad?
Hi, I'm Sam Brown, and I participated in aerodynamics. It was very fun to compete against the other schools in aerodynamic. Also, it was fun coming in first place.
Always is.
We had to be creative because we only had a piece of paper, scissors, and 6 centimeters of tape to build the best plane we can.
Hi, my name is Jack, and the event I was in, it was aerodynamics. Having Mr. Smart as a coach was very inspiring to me because I learned how to make paper airplanes and fly them correctly through the air.
Hi, my name is Drew. Last year I was in aerodynamics. It's not just making paper airplanes. You can just go out, make friends. I'm really looking forward to doing it again this year.
Hi, my name is William Rendell, and I was in the aerodynamics event. I think it's cool that I learned new ways of making paper airplanes and how making a tiny difference to the way you make the paper airplane can make a big impact to the way it flies.
Hi, my name is Micah, and I competed in the Science Olympiad on the Rockhounds team last year. One thing I got out of this experience was teamwork. Teamwork was a crucial part of the event, and we had to work together to accomplish our goal. I learned a great amount of information about rocks and minerals during training. Dr. Kiefer was a great, if not the greatest coach, and led us to win first place. We had to use our brains and creativity to compete in rockhounds and our pencils too. Even though the contestants were competing against one another, we had respect for each other. It was great to work together with students from different classes and grades and become friends. I enjoyed my experience very much. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Haley Clark, and I
participated in the Mystery Powders event. One of the things I learned from Mystery Powders is teamwork and meeting new friends from different grade levels. Also, I'd like to thank the coaches for volunteering their time to help us.
Hi, my name is Annika Monolewski, and last year I was in the event Trajectory. The first reason why I love Science Olympiad is because my coach, Mr. Smart, was amazing. The second reason why I love Science Olympiad is because people think that Science Olympiad is just for fun, but you actually learn a lot of valuable stuff. Last but not least, my third reason is I made so many new friends that are now in 6th grade, but I still remember them. These are my reasons why I love Science Olympiad.
Hi, my name is Luke, and I was in the Drunk Cars event last year. In Science Olympiad, I learned how to collaborate as a team and solve problems we came across together. With great coaches and teammates, we had fun learning about friction, inertia, and gravity. What was great about Science Olympiad was that you could apply your creativity and skills to a friendly competition. The best part about last year's event was that we won first place. Overall, I had a great experience in the Drunk Cars event.
My name is Jaden Perna. I was in the Rockhounds. I participated in Rockhounds. I learned how to work as a team. While I was in Rockhounds, I made new friends from different grades. I think that kids should participate in this because it helps people get creative and solve problems using any resources around them. Dr. Kiefer is the best because she taught us how granite, quartz, and coal are made. Sadly, Dr. Kiefer won't be the Rockhounds coach.
Hi, my name is Liam, and I participated in Trajectory. One of the things that I liked most about Trajectory was teamwork, because I've played other team sports like baseball, but you don't really work together that much in that. But this, you have to work as a team to make your device to make sure the egg doesn't get smashed.
My name is Morgan Landry. I was in Trajectory, and something I got out of Science Olympiad was not only making friends in my own grade level, but also making them in what are now 6th graders at in middle school.
Thank you. Nice job with it. Any questions?
You have to answer all the
There's a
questions.
quiz.
I have a question. I do. Will, how far did your plane go?
Pretty far. Next to the target.
I'd like to thank Townline for bringing Science Olympiad to the elementary school level and have it in your building. Science is really important, and we've had it in the middle schools for a long time, but it's really important that if you have an interest in science, that you're able to learn new things and participate in things like this. So thank you.
We're actually hosting the Illinois Elementary Science Olympiad competition here at Hawthorn in the school south. So that's going to be February 3rd. It'd be nice to close to home.
So I'd like to see a lot more students participating and a lot of parents volunteering to make it a success. I was there last year. I was one of the coaches. We can't host it without parent support. So please, it's right in your backyard. It's one day. Just come out and do it. It's a lot of fun. And if anybody wants to see Dr. Kiefer being the biggest cheerleader, you have to come out for the
I just want to thank you guys for coming out and taking time out of your busy evening to present to us.
Yeah, you all did a great job. And great job on all the first place.
if you haven't had a chance for folks that are watching to go to do this, it's one of those things that I've been able to volunteer for. It is really fun to watch. The kids really have a lot of fun doing it and learn a lot. It's exciting.
And if you can't coach, there's still other ways to volunteer and participate.
Yes,
You could
definitely.
be judges and
Right. I volunteer as a judge, and there's a lot of opportunities to help.
It's fun coaching, and it's fun event to make it a success at our schools. We'll need a lot of volunteers to just do registration and other kind of things, so you can help in any small, big way that you can. So please, please, please reach out to Dr. Kiefer if you have some time and you would like to do this. The next item is the consent agenda of the board minutes from September 11th, the Amex report, the expenditure report for September, the personnel, which is the leave of absence for Ms. Connie Faith, Megan Copeland, and S.T. Edelman. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Robbins, seconded by Matt. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Jason Tron.
Aye.
Julie Simpson.
Aye.
Jeff Bard.
Aye.
Robin Cleek.
Aye.
Wes Pullen, aye. Matt Jacobs.
Aye.
Sonali Patel.
Aye. Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. Now we're going to go to discussion items of the EFMP survey, so we can kind of get it in. Could we do the transportation renewal, please? I'm just going to mix it around till we can get the slides up.
Good evening. As I reported at the last meeting, we have a meeting scheduled on October 5th with the 2 other districts that participate in our collective contract with Lakeside Transportation. The 2 other districts include Libertyville District 70 as well as the High School District 128. As it relates to that meeting, we hope to bring a recommendation to the board on October 23rd for a renewal. I do have some responses as it relates to follow-up questions. I have some responses today, and I'll bring forward additional responses on the 23rd. The first question was the average age of the buses. They're typically about 9 years old, 8.5 to 9 years old. The contract allows for a max age of 10 years, so it's within the 10 years. As it relates to background checks, they are conducted, of the drivers are conducted when they're hired. And at that point, obviously they have to maintain their CDL, and the CDL can be revoked for things such as drug-related offenses, neglected homicide, things like that. As it relates to a CDL, they have to maintain that.
What is a CDL?
Commercial driver's license.
License, yeah. And then there was another question related to personnel issues with the first student. First student, it's about 4% the size of the contract relative to Lakeside, a much smaller contract. It's for the charter and summer scholar type programs. There were personnel issues about 2 years ago, even last year as well. And it had to do with missed charters at the last 12th hour. Charters would get missed or miscommunications. Last year was pretty bad. We have had discussions with first students since. There has been a change in middle management, and so far this year, things have been good. We haven't had any major issues so far this year. And that is all I have as it relates to an update with the transportation contract renewal. Any questions at this point?
Yeah, I had asked a question about whether our reported number of incidents with Lakeside has decreased at all since we were having problems around this time last year. Seemingly like a lot of issues coming in with buses being late, broken down, stopping on the train tracks, et cetera, et cetera. How are we doing this year?
The sense overall is that things have been much better this year relative to last year. We've still had our issues. We've still had our bumps along the way. But from what I hear, my understanding is it's much better this year than it was last year.
Okay. But do we actually keep track of like amount of reports that have come in a certain time period?
The majority of the concerns are typical with new routes. and just, I mean, I could probably count the number of emails I got this year versus the number of emails Brad got last year from
That's
parents.
kind of what I'm asking. Like,
We could do something like that, but the overall sense is that holistically, it's less than it was last year.
Okay.
One of the key changes was their manager is not driving routes. You remember last
Right, I
year,
kind of
they
remember
actually-
that. Yeah.
So we've made changes on that, and everybody's been retrained on the railroad track safety procedures and protocols, what to do, types of things.
Okay.
Has there been any discussion as to flexibility with respect to start times and coordinating something with the other buildings, or is that not something of interest with the administration?
I'm sorry, that question.
Has there been any discussion regarding flexibility with respect to start times and working with the other districts and the bus company, or is that not something we want to pursue?
When Abe goes to his meeting, we're going to kind of see if there's some flexibility in those. So much of ours is driven by where they're going to, and so we'd like to see if we have some leeway there to make some changes to give us some flexibility in our start times and potential addition of transportation needs for kindergarten building, things of that sort. So we're working to see what we can do.
Any other questions for Abe at this time? If you have any questions, you can email Abe, because the meeting you said is on October 6th, right? So,
It's on October 5th.
Okay.
In the morning.
okay. So if you have any questions you can think of till that time, if you could, if he needs to get answers for you before that. The next would be kindergarten building update. It's an ongoing discussion from before.
The design team has been meeting. We've got 2 more meetings scheduled to come up to make a presentation at the October 9th board meeting. We have a very good plan. We've gone through a very good process of vetting out ideas and concepts to fall within the guidance that the board had asked to give to us for building over there. I've learned since the previous board meeting, I think there was a question about wetland credits. There are wetland credits available, so we don't have a worry about if you were going to use the entire wetlands, you need to buy credits somewhere else. Those credits are available now. At one point, I think there was a concern or a question there may not be enough credits in the state to purchase those, but that is available, so that won't be a problem as we're going forward with the planning. I have a meeting tomorrow with the village on some transportation layouts with a brief outline of where we think the building is going to lay, and trying to confirm some of the traffic patterns around the proposed building, traffic patterns on the roads, those types of things. Teachers are very excited about this design that they've been working on and have come up with some really good ideas, and we think that it's going to give us some real good flexibility. But the 9th, you'll get all the details and some drawings and some virtual tours to the building to give that to you. But it's been a very good process. We do have a meeting on Friday and a meeting next week to kind of finalize the designs and the proposal bring to the board.
Any questions for Nick about the kindergarten building? I had a question. Last time when Jason Lemke and Derek, I think, from LAM, when they presented, they had said that the wetland credits were not available, so now they're available.
Yes.
At that point, I think Matt or one of us had asked, what was the dollar amount that was kind of an approximate, and Jason didn't know on top of his head. So do we know approximately how much is it going to cost? Is it more expensive than we had allocated? Is it less? But, what number are we looking at?
We had allocated about $110,000 in the initial budget of the building. It'll come out somewhere between $103,000 and $105,000 to buy the wetland credits if we were to purchase all the wetland credits needed.
But this is for all, right?
Right,
so
for
if
all.
we,
Right,
So
right,
if
for all.
our plan changed and we didn't buy
Right,
all,
you could reduce the amount.
We can reduce
Right.
it.
Is there any discussion with the Park District since they are redoing that CV drainage ditch and including that as credits? But that's their plan. I don't know if we could preemptively discuss with them. Because it would be easier to just move credits from our area to them. And it's all in-house.
Right.
We obviously have a relationship.
Obviously. I will reach out to them and ask and see how that works.
I don't know how far along
I
they
don't
are,
know
but-
quite how that would necessarily work or not, but
Okay.
I'm pretty confident with the 103 to 105 is where we'll be, and we budgeted around 110 if we utilized all of the wetland.
No, but it would be nice to know if, we can get some more break
Right.
because as Matt mentioned, it's in-house, so with that project. The design, do we have to present our design to the park district and to the village?
Yes. We have a presentation on October 9th for our board. We have one on October 10th to the Park District Board, and we're trying to schedule something for the village to present to them and let them see the ideas and the concepts. That is part of the meeting tomorrow as well, is just trying to line up with the village, their representative, what the next steps will be.
And this is more just a kind of an administrative thing, but could we send out an invite to either of the days, the 9th, 10th, or whenever the village date is, to the library people to come and check the presentation out, so we don't have to make one to them at a separate time and date, because they could come to any one of them. But just, I'd like to send an invite to them saying that they're invited to come and see our presentation at, and anybody else do we need to send an invite to?
Possibly the ROE, but I'll have to have a meeting with the ROE over some of the details of the drawings and stuff of that as well.
No, but I meant in the surrounding, because like library is right next to us, even though not involved, so we want to invite them to see our design. Is there somebody else we would want to send an invitation to come and see our design?
I'll have to think about that.
Okay,
I mean, it's on the public agenda. Like anybody can see that we're going to look at that night.
No, but like to some specific entity. Right. If it's like.
If we can combine it into one meeting, it would be great. But I think I'll have to have a separate meeting with the ROE.
Okay.
And we've been in contact with the fire department as we're looking at designs and those types of things.
So ROE and the fire department would be a separate meeting?
Possibly, yeah, they'll have to go through that.
Okay.
But definitely the library and the the village and the park district are separate meetings.
No, that I know, but I was wondering, if we needed to invite anybody else other than the library.
Aaron Lawler,
Any questions?
since he's local resident as well as the Lake County resident, just let him know. Just give him a heads up too.
Sure.
Any questions? Next item, dual language staff expansion.
Well, I'm going to go, and then Art will jump in if we need it. I wanted to bring the board up to speed on some of the work. As you recall, last year the board approved the expansion of dual language into middle school, giving us this year to go through the details. Over the summer, I think we had 4, maybe 5 staff members that are our advanced Spanish teachers. They worked 18 hours each to start changing the curriculum of advanced Spanish into a Spanish language arts. That would be one of the courses at the middle schools. We are looking at schedules. We have a meeting with administration. Every other week we have a team meeting, so we're meeting with the administration on those as well. So we're looking at schedules, what's the impact of dual language in the buildings on the schedules, and what opportunities may that provide for us. We are also looking internally at staff. We have some staff we think may be interested. You must be licensed for middle school and then licensed for specific subjects. We're looking at language arts, which we have already in-house. We're looking at science, and we're looking at social studies as dual language courses. We do have some folks that have middle school licensing in those areas, and we have some folks that have middle school licensing and ELL or dual language. So we're looking to find in-house staff to see if they're interested. We are posting anticipated positions right now to advertise that out, so we generate some interest to see who internally is interested and then nearby. There may be folks at other districts that might be interested that are in elementary that have middle school licenses that would like to come over. I personally think it would be nice if we had somebody from the School of Dual Language, if they went over, because then it would be a nice bridge between the two programs as it's early in. But I don't know if we have anybody who's interested that has the license we need that would be interested in that. So we're progressing with that work. We'll continue the work on the curriculum for all those subjects. Many of the items for the curriculum is needed when we purchased the social studies where we get the science. It comes in Spanish as well. So there are pieces there that are already in place for us to work on. And we're sort of vetting through the next big detail is the staffing and the schedules and how those impact each other, and how we can best utilize our staff to meet the needs of the kids coming over. And the survey or the schedule will give me a decision, kind of help me see the impact on the building. that has ramifications. As you know, the Cuneo is a new addition. I'll be bringing at the next board meeting some recommendations on Cuneo being assigned to elementary and middle. And so that will play into some of that as well. There might be some opportunities there for us. So, but it's moving along very well, and we'll continue to bring you updates. I'll email you updates and bring updates to the board meeting as we proceed with the work.
Any questions for Art?
No, but I presume when you bring us these updates that it's going to include some sort of ballpark figure for operating costs and not just logistics.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And the staffing piece is very interesting to see.
That's what I'm worried about mostly is if
Yeah,
we had trouble filling the vacancies this year.
Right. And if we find folks that are interested, just it's all depending on where people are at. Can we absorb that into our staffing, or is it additional? Look at trying to save some costs there if possible.
Okay.
Any more questions? No? Okay. So the next discussion item is actually the Education Facilities Master Plan. These are the survey results presentation. Robin and I are kind of going to tag team on this. This is only the data. These are not the answers to the comments at all. Comments will come. There's be a discussion item after this presentation, but this is the data that we collected. I will move the slides.
Yep.
Let me know if you want to go first.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so tonight we're going to present the data that we collected from the EFMP survey. As a background, we started this process in January of 2016, when we sent out an RFQ for architects. 17 bids were received. We narrowed it down to 3, and they had presentations at the board meetings. From there, we chose DLR, and they have since done assessments and made plans for the work needed. They are also our architects for the kindergarten center. EFMP is a 10-year facilities master plan. It is a plan not only for the current needs of students, but also what we can foresee for the future. This plan included additions of spaces to meet our current space needs and future enrollments based on trends we see or can predict by the demographic study done by Dr. Casarda. These plans also include facility upgrades that are needed as school codes have changed and wear and tear of the buildings have occurred, also the mechanical upgrades that are needed. For example, Middle North is a building built in 1975 that hasn't received any renovation since. We will go into details on some of these things again in the meeting when we answer the comments. For now, we had the referendum question on the April 2017 ballot. We have approximately 17,000 registered voters in our district. The voter turnout was 15%. While this is a disheartening turnout, as it was a ballot that had a lot on it, school boards for 73 and 128, village boards, and the referendum was defeated by a 60 to 40% vote. After the referendum failed, we put together a survey to help us understand what the community wanted and what they would support. The survey was drafted by Link Strategies with input from both the board and the administration. We appreciate the 537 people who took the time to respond to the survey and give us their feedback. Again, we have over 4,200 students enrolled and about 17,000 registered voters. We got back 537 responses. This is more than we have in the past, and we are thankful for all of it. I also have to add in that anything over 500 is like a complete win as far as reliability goes. So I have to add that in. Before we present the data, I would like to address comments we had about the survey itself. We heard that a few people were unhappy on certain items that contained no neutral option or not applicable option. This had to do with trying to force rank so that we knew where the community stood. And it was done with the background of consultation and feedback of Link Strategies. We also understand some people did not like number 17, which asked which school you live closest to. We understand this created some confusion with our campus-style setup. It was a way of collecting data as to which community actively participated. But for now, we truly appreciate that you took the time to participate. And here we go with the data collected. Okay, so how satisfied are you with the quality of Hawthorn 73 schools? Well, the good news is that the vast majority, close to 88%, are at least somewhat satisfied to very satisfied or neutral. In fact, about 75% were somewhat to very satisfied. So That is good news. We can move on to the next one. Thank you. Did you vote in the April 2017 election? Yes, said 74% of the people that responded. So this should be a pretty good indicator that at least we are getting responses from people that actually voted in the election. If you answered yes to question 2, did you vote yes or no? Pretty reflective of the results that we actually saw in real life. Obviously, the majority voted no. On the actual referendum, it was more like 60-40. This makes it look like it was slightly off of that. But again, still shows that this is going to be a pretty accurate reflection. If you answer no to whether or not you voted in the April 2017 election, are you aware that Hawthorn 73 school facilities referendum question appeared on the ballot? Mostly who voted no that they did not vote were at least aware that there was a referendum question. So mostly word got out, and a lot of NA.
They had voted yes.
And they said they voted yes.
Yeah, okay. Couldn't see the entire question up there. Okay. How familiar are you with enrollment trends in Hawthorn 73 schools? 87% of the people that responded consider themselves aware of the enrollment trends. So that means at least part of the communication worked, or at least possibly they're experiencing this trend with their own children or grandchildren. Ideally, I would like everybody to be very familiar, but we can continue to work on that. And of course, we have to update enrollment trends as more time passes. Number 6, how familiar are you with the upcoming project to locate a kindergarten center for Hawthorn 73 students at the Vernon Hills Park District Sullivan Community Center? This was not part of the referendum. So similarly, responders seemed quite familiar that a plan exists to build a kindergarten center at the Sullivan Center. And question 7, how familiar are you with issues surrounding Hawthorn 73's facilities and the April 2017 referendum question? Again, about 85% responded they are familiar. So as previously mentioned, the communication worked or they're personally experiencing it. Yeah, I think, though, perhaps if they're very familiar, this perhaps will inform us that what we could have done to educate the community better on what topics. So, and then number 8, and then I'll flip it over to Sonali. How much do you agree with each of the following statements? And so the next statement was, there is enough space in existing Hawthorn 73 facilities to accommodate student growth. Most people, over 60%, in fact, understand that there is not enough space in District 73 for growth. So I think we got that message across to the majority. Again, 64% isn't as great as 100%, but got that message across to a vast majority. Next statement was, Hawthorn 73 facilities are sufficiently updated and modernized. This was a perfect 50-50 split on whether people agree with that statement or not, and perhaps that was where question 17 came in. Maybe your experience with different buildings based upon enrollment or what you've most recently been at would affect that statement. The next statement was, Hawthorn 73 facilities support the educational needs of our students. About 3/4 of the people surveyed agree that the students' needs are met. So this is a good sign that that's obviously ultimately our goal and mission. Next statement was, STEM center additions are important for student success. So 68% of the responders agreed with that statement. I personally found that one interesting, but I'm kind of wondering if perhaps important and necessary are enough of a fine line that it seemed to affect a lot of the comments, but we'll get to that the next meeting. Early childhood pre-K services should be relocated from Lincoln Center to Elementary North. This, again, was basically a 50-50 split.
This was just the data from the previous slide, just showing the breakup of the percentages that Robin summarized for everybody. So the next question was with regard to the educational facilities master plan, please rank each of the following by importance. And the options given were minimizing cost and impact on property taxes, providing high quality STEM programming available to all students, ensuring consistency in providing a high quality education across all facilities, accommodating future enrollment growth to ensure manageable class sizes, and providing high quality STEM programming to all students in a dedicated STEM facility. Minimizing impact on taxes and ensuring high quality education were the top priorities at 38%. The second priority was ensuring high quality education, about 40%, and accommodating future enrollment at 28%. Providing STEM programming fell at about third and fourth priority at 35% each. And the least priority, with an overwhelming 66%, was providing STEM in a dedicated STEM facility, which was this difference between STEM education was important, but the least of the priorities was in a dedicated facility. The good news is with this that it looks like at least we are all on the same page with the critical points, which is to provide high quality education to all our students. We have to address the future enrollment because if we fail to do so, we won't be able to provide the high quality education. STEM programming is part of the future education, and we all seem to recognize that. We all live in Vernon Hills, the community and the board members, and pay the exorbitant Lake County taxes. So we all are saying the same things as homeowners, that the taxes are ridiculous. The dedicated STEM facility is definitely an issue. We get what the community is saying, and we will address this in details when we address the comments, whether it's at the next meeting or the meeting after. That'll be a discussion after this presentation is over. The next question was, which of the following facility needs should be the top priority of the school district? Gym and fitness room additions and renovations, STEM center additions and renovations, special education space renovations, music and art room additions and renovations, additional classroom, cafeteria renovations. And the last one was, I do not believe Hawthorn 73 should pursue additions and or renovations at existing schools. So 49% of the respondents said that the additional classroom is the facilities that they most need. We agree additional classrooms will provide for smaller class sizes, better environment, and all of this goes hand in hand towards ensuring the high quality education that we expect from our students. This was followed by 16% saying we need the STEM addition or renovations. But 17% said that we didn't need any additions or renovations to existing schools. They just, in the previous questions, we had heard that they were aware of the space crunch and the enrollment issues we had, but 17% said that we do not need additions or renovations. So the assumption here is either they are not aware of the space needs because they haven't been affected, or they were not aware due to the lack of communication, or that they are looking for a different alternative to additions and renovations. So they are not in favor of just additions and renovations and need a different solution. The next question were most demographic questions. This was regarding the age of the respondents. 84% of our respondents were in the 25 to 54 age group. We had a few older citizens, but we had 5 18-year-olds who took this survey. So go civic responsibilities. But I'm assuming that they were probably helping a family member and thought that this was a question they could answer themselves without taking the mom and dad's input. This is what my kids would do if they're helping me with a survey. Ethnicity. Most of the respondents were white at 80%, followed by Asian and Pacific Islander at 10%. The next question was, do you currently have children in Hawthorn 73 schools? 72% of the respondents are parents, and this is expected as parents would be the most involved segment of the community when it came to schools. The last question, which most people did not like, and this was evident from the comment section, was 31 to 30, which elementary school are you closest to? The way our boundaries are, you're closest to one, but you're going to other just when we did the boundary allocation. So 31 to 32% of the respondents were boundaried in elementary south. This was a question that people didn't like, and knowing from the comments that followed this question, which we read, this question, doesn't provide any information that we could find useful. But I'd like to thank everybody who took the time to take the survey. So thank you very much. The next topic after this is the comments. We want to address the comments. We will address the comments. We have to come to a consensus. Last time we started the thing of how did we want to address the comments. One of the things was to collate it. They are collated by question in the comment section, which is available to the board to see which questions needed to be answered. They were categorized. So now the question is, there are certain topics that keep coming up. So we would have to deliver them. So most of the comments would fall in these big, broad categories. Now the question is, how do we want to address these comments? Do we want to do it as we kind of stopped at the last meeting, do we do it at a board meeting? Do we have a special meeting and do it? Do we want to do board and FAQ? What is the rest of the board thinking about it right now?
I gave my opinion several times last time. I'm not sure I need to repeat it other than Jeff wasn't here, but I assume you watched the meeting. I still would vote for either doing it at a board meeting or possibly a special meeting with the understanding that there's not going to be a back and forth. So not a fan of the FAQ on the website idea unless it's following that meeting.
Sure, we could just put the whole, questions and answers up at that, what we answered. If somebody wasn't there, they could read it, or, we could have a YouTube or whatever put up there at that point. Sure.
One of the things that could be, we could videotape a board member or two responding to those, and then post that up and send it out a notice to say this is posted, so folks could go and watch that, where you could go through and somebody could see what your response was to that, and I could add a special button on Let's Talk somebody can watch that and then hit a button for Let's Talk to send in a question or a comment to the board that then you could follow up with. But it might be a way to provide that somewhat in person. It's not just an FAQ where somebody reads, but you get a chance to speak to the folks that are watching, address the concerns. They can do it at their own time, at their convenience online, and have a special, like I said, special button for Let's Talk that they could then send in a comment or question for you to later consider. It might be a consideration for the board if you wanted to do something along those lines.
That's fine too, I suppose.
I need a consensus. We need to decide this so we can move on.
So are we talking about just providing general comments to the group questions?
Yes. So if you saw when the collation was done, it is, like one of the examples was the EC and pre-K. It's a 50-50 split. So in that game, some people were for bringing EC pre-K back to elementary north. Some people were against it. And this is an example. And, we would just say that this was the criteria, or this is it. And when we made the EFMP plan, it was a permission to ask for it. We hadn't run the numbers of it exactly, of whether we would bring it back, because we share services, and those are highly specialized services. Sometimes we have trouble finding those specialized personnel to fill those positions. So breaking away from Fremont, another district, would we be able to service our students the way we need to? So it is not just yes, we have the space and can we bring it back? That data, it was a permission to do it, not as a, so we would answer stuff like that. If there was as I said, there were a lot of questions, but most of them fell in broad categories where we could answer them. If there's a question that was missed, they could write to us, and we will take the time to respond to them personally via the email if they write to us, because a lot of them were going around in circles. Some of them were really not even pertinent, but I'm not saying pertinent to the EFMP. They are concerns people have, but they can write to us and we'll respond to that. But, we can't be talking about things that do not pertain to the EFMP in the comments for the EFMP directly. Some of them that came up, we could talk about those things. So that was the way we would, because it would be hard to go through each question at a time. So they did fall into pretty significant categories when you started. If you look at the graphs that were sent, they fall within right out there.
So maybe we could have one or two board members draft something up for the rest to comment on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, that will definitely be done, but we need to figure out how we're going to deliver it. I mean, that is definitely going to be done. I mean, because it's all of us responding. So
Right.
yes, we will draft the collation was done, the topics are done, the questions are done. Another question, the answers will be posted for everybody to comment and be comfortable with and get the exact data from the administration and the numbers. There will be numbers that go with it. I mean, it's not just talking on top of the head. So we will have numbers to back up what we are saying. It'll be exact data that we presented on, based our facts on. But how are we going to give it? I mean, that is the question we need to answer right now. Are we doing a board meeting? At the next board meeting, do we go for it? Or the one afterwards because we need time? Do we hold a special meeting in the middle? Or do we do what Nick just suggested, which is 2 of us with a video?
And I'm assuming, and I apologize, I'm assuming the board still is consensus that they want to respond to the comment.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. I just want to make sure
absolutely.
there hadn't been any change in any thoughts. So then it's just how. Just want to make sure we.
I gave my vote. I would say just go down the line at that point.
Jason.
I'm not clear what was
I'm
yours.
reading the questions, and I would say a majority of them, there's really nothing we can say. No answer because there's really no question.
I think some of the questions fell in as comments, and so it was more like explaining our position all over again.
Like,
And
there
a
is
lot
no
of the,
NA. There's like 10 of those. So we've already addressed that here today. So there's 10 that we don't have to talk about. We moved here recently. That was a comment, okay? What do we do with that info? How do we answer that? It's not even a question.
No, I
So
understand.
a lot
That's
of
why I
these
said
comments-
there's some no comments, but there's some as the STEM was a big one. EC Pre-K was another one. Facilities was a big one because people don't think that the facilities are. I think it is a question of actually going through. It is not something we haven't done, but actually doing it all over again in maybe a different manner, because people think that all the buildings will not get treated or everybody will not get the same facilities. Some of them were like they did not want the dedicated STEM facility. It is a question we have to, even though we did answer it, we did explain it. I think we need to explain it again in different terms. This time it would come from the 7 of us. There is nothing that is new that hasn't been said before, but we have to do it again because they seem to have the question. And
there were some reoccurring themes that kept coming up that I think that we need to address again as a board. I don't think it's realistic to think that we go through every comment one by one at a board meeting.
No,
but that's why Sonali already made the categories so that we could
and
just
so it's grouped, and I think
draft a paragraph based upon the category.
at the very least, we need to touch on those.
That's what, like, touch the categories, and if somebody's question or comment was not answered, please email us.
Right.
And I hope the community is happy with the responses that they have been getting. Every time they get a response or a concern or a comment, we have been very prompt at getting back to them. So if there's something that didn't get answered because, it was one off in the thing that we couldn't touch in, please reach out to us. Whether it's and you want to do it in person, we'll set up an appointment and meet you, at the district office and do it with you. But if you reach out to us, we will do it.
Well, plus, I still think there's value in, again, it's one thing to make a blanket statement and go, yeah, we've read all your comments, and then just dismiss it. It's another thing to show them that you've read the comments because you can actually address what they were speaking to. And I think it is worth taking the time to say, okay, well, there was a dozen or so comments that why can't Libertyville students just go to Libertyville, and why can't Mundelein students just... Well, if we explained the process as to why that doesn't just happen, people might stop making that comment. Like, because this is one of those...
We have explained that numbers of times.
We have, but I think we have to
obviously
do it again.
We haven't done them. We haven't gotten the message out the right way or to the right people, or I still think it's worth.
So I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing right, there's really kind of maybe 3 options that you're trying to decide on how to answer these. Is that at a board meeting, go through the areas and answer them. An FAQ, potentially write something that is posted, or I just made a suggestion in which you could videotape something and have it posted as well. So are those the 3 we're trying to pick from?
Or we do a special meeting where we just answer everything. Like, it'll be a special board meeting and just do it, and it won't be at the board time. So we don't hold the meeting doesn't go long, because it'll take some time. But we can do a special meeting, like we do some closed sessions sometimes when concerns arise. But we need to have a consensus, and we need that. Because the work that needed to be done is done. Now we need.
I don't honestly feel like, I don't know how many categories you were able to whittle it down to. I wasn't kind of part of that process, but I can't imagine that giving these explanations is going to take that long. I'm picturing like under an hour. I don't know. Is that right?
But that's
so like our
thing,
meetings
right?
have basically been going to 8 or 8:30. Like if we add an hour, is that the end of the world? I mean, this is not a midnight situation. So I personally am not really in a big favor of a special meeting. I would probably either do it at a board meeting or just like Nick said, videotape it, put it on the website. If you want to view it, and if you don't. But
if you the only thing, and I just thought of the videotaping this evening, so I apologize that I didn't get it to you. The only thing with the videotape is you can do it, go back and watch it and edit it, make sure you're explaining it clearly. Or if you do it live, sometimes you, even if you have it written out and scripted, and you try to,
sure.
Both would end up on the web page for folks to view. Either way, it works in that regard. I'm just thinking out loud between those two.
The challenge there is, how do we make that a board answer and not a board member answer? So
Jeff just said, like, every time anybody who drafts this or anybody who takes the responsibility of drafting it sends it out to everybody else. And if there are suggestions, the same way today's documentation came to you.
Okay.
So, and then if you have responses, if you have comments, you send it to the others and the modifications will be made. So, as long as it's not just the style of language that but the data that is not getting put to.
The same as if you did it live. I mean, you will have to.
Well, yeah, but here we would get a chance to add something in if we felt,
here's open meeting right here versus, well, I think this is how we should answer this one. And someone else says, well, no, I think the spin should be this. I want to add this commentary to it. Or someone else adds something else. Now we're no longer in an open meeting. That becomes problematic. So it's not just one person putting out a document and saying, here it is, then sending it back to just you. Now we're discussing board answers to questions and issues. I don't think we can do that through email. I don't think we can do that and say, okay, we now have a consensus, and by the way, here it is, without anybody seeing how we came up with that consensus, and then just videotaping that one answer. That's the problem with that one particular way of doing it. If we do it here, and Jeff says, okay, here's what I think how we address this question, and then Robin says, well, yeah, but how about this little spin to it? And then I can say, look, then we have our open discussion as to what the board really feels is the answer to that one concern or issue. We do that in the open.
Then your decision then would be to have it at a regular scheduled meeting, schedule a special meeting for that particular night.
I think those are only two options.
So you're really down to those two choices.
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
And if you think you can do that within an hour, I would just add it as an item for the.
If we're going to be having the back and forth, I don't know if we can do it within an hour, but.
What kind of what kind of back and forth? Like amongst us, you mean?
Yes. I mean, possibly.
Because if you read an answer, I don't necessarily have to agree with that in terms of, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to give the board's position on a particular comment or question. The board's position is then we get that by having a discussion.
Yeah, no, when I estimated an hour, it was based upon Sonali's idea of having a drafted paragraph answer prior to.
I mean, what you could do ahead of time is come up with, okay, here are the 12 things that we'll talk about, because you've grouped them and you kind of did your collating and trying to narrow it down. That can be done ahead of time because there's no discussion. It's just here's what the data is. It is what it is. And then we can all go off on our own and think about how we might address that. And then when we get together, then we could discuss it at an open meeting.
If we're going to do it the way Jason suggests, maybe we should split it between two meetings. Or, I mean, I don't know if that's too far out for everyone. I mean,
Fine with me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how long it's taking us to come up with the consensus for this. So,
I don't feel like it should have.
Well, even if we discuss each one, there's nothing wrong with having a draft to work off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for
right.
sure.
But we
can
can't
save
work
some
together
time.
with the draft. Like Sonali's draft, and then we can then present it as a president's view, and then we can then discuss it in the open.
Okay.
I don't expect a whole lot of discussion. We're saying if there is, we need to do it in the open.
Okay.
I mean,
no, I understand your point.
And I mean, if trust is what we're looking to build, to open meeting debate it, I think is a good way to start. I agree with him completely.
It's not. It won't be a debate. It's
Not, that's not what I mean.
It's not a debate.
I meant discussion, not debate.
I knew what you meant.
Robin, you always know what I mean.
You
do.
Well, and fair to make the board to do the initial conversation.
My interpreter.
And then follow up with the next second
Oy.
meeting to-
Just depending on how many we get through next meeting.
I
So
don't want
let's add it at the next meeting.
That's
A lot of the work is done. A lot of the time-consuming work is done. We need to pull some data from our old presentations because a lot of the things cannot be explained by just hand waving. You know, it's
Sure.
precise numbers, it's precise dollar amounts. We need to have those. You know, when we pull that data, we can draft some answers.
If the answer is just straight numbers, then there's really no arguing there. There's no
Yeah. So
discussion or
some
debate
of it
there.
will be, but some of it won't be.
So we'll draft it and then we'll take it. So we'll, you know, and then next we'll see if we want to add something to each of the questions. We'll see how long it takes us to get through some of them. If it starts taking longer, we will cut it off and we'll do it for the next meeting. You know, we don't have to keep going till we are done with all. I think there are mostly 13 categories.
Did you already send us the categories?
Yes.
You did. Okay.
It
Okay.
is a spreadsheet.
All right. I can't. I
The-
can't open my iPad right now.
Well, some of the categories are catch-all. STEM. There are 5. Yes, we really need it. It's a great thing. And then there's other 5 comments that say we don't need STEM. We don't
No,
have
but
rooms
that's
for
it.
it.
If we
So-
need STEM, you
So
agree.
STEM includes both pros and cons, support and opposition to it. How do we address that? As a board, that's where we've got a lot of people think we don't need it. A lot of people think, yeah, it's a great thing.
I think
What
it's
do we
okay
as a
to
board?
say something like, the comments were split on
Yeah,
support of
then
STEM,
that's-
not support of
that would
STEM.
be-
And then there's probably ways within those comments to break it down by, I support STEM, but don't think it should be a separate add-on facility, or, I support it at the middle school level, but not at elementary. And I think it's okay to just kind of acknowledge that we've read that, acknowledge that we'll consider it
It's in
moving
the issues to
forward.
be addressed.
And acknowledge that there's this big range of opinions out there as to.
It's in the list of
What's that?
things that, when the categories are broken down, it's in the list out there. It's not in the graph, but it's in the list, that document that came with it. that
So are we
says
going to
that.
divvy up these categories and each draft something and then send it to the others so they know what's going to sort of be said that night? Or are you just drafting general responses to all of them and then we'll get to add in or take away? Or
Whichever way we want to do it. It's our call.
I don't want to put it all on you if it's a lot of work, but
We can take
I feel like
few,
then
it's
you should just assign categories because I don't want to.
because there are like about 13 or 14 right now. I can fill up my draft.
You could just go ahead and make the decision, do the first 7, if there are 14, do the first 7 in one meeting and the second 7.
It's fine.
Because I don't think you're going to get through 14.
No.
So just, kind of be upfront and say you're going to split it in half and do the first. It might not be a bad idea to have each board member have here are my thoughts on how we would address this,
Mhm.
and email it so you can collate, because you might see some
Justice and
right, but not so one board member's writing them, but each one write, here's my thoughts on how to address, and you could, I have no opinion on this at this point. You could write that too, and then
Mhm.
send it to Sonali, and she can collate them into a
Okay.
document. It would help the conversation, I think.
Okay.
Because there are 2 documents that I sent you, the graph of collations, which will help in addressing and showing people where the questions came from. And then there's a Word document that came, which has the issues and stuff broken down. Like as Jason mentioned, when I said STEM and the STEM had a bar graph, the STEM had pros and cons and what the issues were to its, broken
Right.
down by the 5 subcategories. or when people said facilities, or there were 5 or 6 subcategories to it, but that is written down. So when you start answering that question, you have what the subcategories are. I mean, you've read them. I mean, they're all there anyway. You can go over. We'll add it to the next board meeting, and then we'll take it from there. So I'll wait for your comments, and then send it only to me, because it's not a discussion. We will have the discussion at the next board meeting. Okay, where did I go?
So in that spreadsheet, are all the questions, all the comments in there? Did you put them all in there?
In the data crunch, not the first one.
All the comments were several weeks ago, though.
It
was like a 72-page document that came.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those did not get pulled over into the first tab, right?
No, not the first tab, because the first tab I tried doing it and it was taking me inordinate amount of time to pull each comment. So I decided to go with the data crunch of just the slide.
So you just tallied. You just did a tally.
Yes, I just did the tally. Okay. Because trying to pull every single comment and thousands of them that it was taking a lot. But like I said, if each amount was, if a comment had 2 or 3 sections, it got tallied in each of the categories. So if they had a comment about enrollment, and they had a comment about, taxes, and if they had a comment about something else, it got tallied in each section. So that's why the addition of those tally marks will not add up to the exact number of comments in the page, because they are in multiple sections. Each comment could have been tallied multiple times.
So if a question isn't about dollars or numbers, so it's not something specific, are we just putting each one of our thoughts, or are we coming to consensus? Like, are we?
We are going to address the categories that were there, the main categories. Like I said, if there's a one-off comment, when you read and you feel that this comment has not been addressed, like, I just moved here, or they're like, a lot of them are there just comments which do not fall under any category.
But when next meeting, when we're addressing the categories, if it's something that isn't a number and we all have our opinion, are we ending with a consensus, or that's the question?
I don't think there's going to be a way to get consensus on how we move forward just yet. I think this is simply just
well, not how we move forward, but I guess that would kind of direct some of it, but the specific things.
Give me an example, because I think I'm not following you.
We'll just skip it for now.
No, but you have to, because we have to understand how because we have to plan for it, right? So that's why.
Like, do we all have to agree on how we're responding?
As a whole. At the end of it.
I think it's okay to each put in our own thoughts if we have them, and not all agree to agree. I think we can either agree to disagree at the end of it, or just leave it alone, as in.
Yeah, but I guess I was wondering what we were doing with the agree to disagree.
I don't feel like there has to be. I don't feel like there's any persuasion involved. Is I guess what I'm stumbling on here.
I think we're just letting.
I think it's just letting people know what's been considered, what it triggers in our brains as far as thought processes, and
well, because if we're asked something outside to give an answer, if somebody necessarily doesn't read it or see it, and I'm asked about a question, how we're responding.
Well, there may be some topics that the board won't be ready to have a position on. For example, perhaps the board could be split on whether to bring students from Lincoln School back to campus or not. So in those instances, we may just need to say that the board will consider this at a future date.
But I think
that's the answer that I'm looking at. That's what I'll give.
Okay, but here's the thing: we are not answering the questions of whether we are bringing it back or not. This is what was on the EFMP. So when we put the EFMP question out there of EC and Pre-K and Lincoln, what was considered and what was done? That's it. We are not answering whether we are going to do it in the future, whether we are doing it right now. What are we? This was what was considered, and that's where we left it. Like EC and Pre-K is a prime example. We asked for permission for building that building. Doesn't mean we were going to build it. We hadn't actually run the numbers, the administration or anybody, to see whether it could be brought back in a financially viable as well as servicing our students' way. So that part of that on the EFMP was going to come later. It was just a permission to see the whole plan included them. As one of the parts of Middle North was to move LOP students to Middle North, it wasn't done. It depended on a lot of space and the requirements that those students had. It was a permission to see, like when we were planning for additional space at Middle North, it included some of the space for those. So a lot of it is a permission to build, permission to renovate for these things. It was a broader plan. It wasn't a downright down to the schematics. So we are not going to answer if we are going to do that right now in this question anyway. It was what was our thought process when we sent this referendum out. We sent it out, but this was the plan. When people ask, like, were you going to build, this was, that is what, like what our thought process and what our number crunching was when we sent these numbers out. What were we getting for 11 million at Middle North and Elementary South? We want to tell them what were we planning on getting, exactly where the building was, how was it 1 floor, 2 floor, 3, that wasn't, the details of that were not worked out by the architect. It was just a permission because we wanted additional classrooms because this is the space crunch we have. So that is what we are telling them of what we decided.
Okay.
And if anybody asks you a question, what you were saying is if somebody asks you afterwards, like, what did the board think about that or whatever, I think the best thing to do is just direct them to view the video. And then that way they could see, were there 7 heads that agreed with them? Were there 6 and 1? Or, and just let them watch for themselves. And, it's no decision being made, but then at least if they had any follow-up questions, they could email us or, follow-up comments. But I don't know. That's where my head is at.
So I have it to add on for the next board meeting, the first half of the questions, and that the board members will each write some comments or thoughts about each of those first questions and send them to Sonali and only Sonali. And then she will take those and put them together, and then a discussion will be had at the board meeting to see if there's some consensus on addressing some of those issues that have been identified.
You want us to copy you also, or just
You
Sonali?
can, but I think you could just
Sonali.
Sonali. So I have that correct? Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Okay. Next. It's superintendent's report.
All right, a couple of things to highlight. We've had some exciting activities going on and some recognition for some of our students. Lexi Schulman, 7th grader at Middle School North, placed 3rd at the IESA State Golf Tournament on Saturday, September 16th at the Kellogg Country Club in Peoria. Congratulations to Lexi. And thank you to Mr. Collins for the exciting pictures he was sending on to us as she was going. And I think a little coaching there to, you'll be all right, you can get it done. Annie Zabillet, 3rd grader at Elementary South, was selected as Art Sonia's Pre-K 3rd grade Artist of the Week for September 17th through 23rd. During the contest, Annie received 2,392 votes from the website visitors. And congratulations to Annie. Exciting. And Aruda Adaraju, Middle School South 8th grade. Jingling Amy Wang, Middle School South 8th grade. And Phyllis Wang, SHS 9th grade, were honored at Northwestern University Center for the Talent Development at its annual award ceremony on September 9th to celebrate achievement in Northwestern University's Midwest Academic Talent Search. These 3 students participated in January 2017 by taking the ACT or SAT. And Aruda Adaraju achieved a 3rd place for 7th grade students in reading on the ACT, and congratulations to all of them. Middle School North hosted an IMEA District 7 Honors Audition. Middle school band and orchestra students are waiting to hear the results. So I'm sure they're kind of excited and waiting. Attendance week for 2017 results. For a small elementary school, the School of Dual Language was recognized for attendance. Congratulations. Large elementary. Go ahead. Large elementary school, Elementary South, and Middle School North were also recognized for their attendance. Thank you. As we all know, attendance is critical for the success of our students, so we appreciate all their efforts to get folks here. Aspen Elementary would like to recognize the 2017-18 Student Council Executive Board, President Isaac Vila, Vice President Neha Kolkarani, Secretary Priya Shilman, and Treasurer Daniel Burke. So we'd like to thank them for stepping up and taking a leadership role. We appreciate that. Just some ideas on October 3rd, middle of the trimester 1, and on 10/6, Teacher Institute Day, no school for all the students. And we are moving along. And I know they had a middle school South soccer, but I didn't get a chance to see who won. We don't have a scoreboard up there, but it's
The other school canceled their after-school activities. So
Pardon me?
It was canceled.
Okay.
Canceled their activities due to the heat. So
Due to the heat, so.
the kids, they have a game tomorrow, so they rested up.
Will that game be at home tomorrow? I don't know. Okay, I don't. Yeah, it's pretty hot out there, so it's best to kind of keep it cool. So, all right.
There is school on the 9th, Columbus Day.
Yes, there is school on the 9th, Columbus Day. Yes.
Show up, please.
Please. Were you talking to me personally? Yes, I'll be there.
Always, but everybody else.
So thank you.
In case you're assuming it's a day off.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Anybody else have anything else to share? Board members.
No, ma'am.
I just want to share real quick that I went out to bingo at Elementary South, and it was a beautiful night out, and people still flocked in. It was very packed and crowded. The kids totally enjoyed it. Lots of screaming, lots of cheering. It was just a great event to go see. Thank you, Jill.
Bess?
Yes.
How was the juggler?
That was great. The tallest man I've ever seen on a unicycle. And he's amazing, and he can balance and juggle, and very talented. And the kids loved it. So, fun was had by all.
So this was the ice cream social at Town Line and Dual Language.
He was on a unicycle, and he had this ring on his head. It was bouncing on his chin. He's very talented.
And it was all in the... Is our gym flows okay? And we had a lot of family. A lot of our teachers were there with their little ones, and it was fun to see them and meet the little ones who were there at the ice cream social. Lots of ice cream left over too, though. It was surprising. Cook Library has a bookmark contest inspired by your favorite book or character. Please talk to your librarian for further details. Hurricane Harvey efforts for Houston Integrated School District are still going on. So if you would like to donate something for Hurricane Harvey victims for the Houston School District, please do so.
One more week.
1 more week for collection.
This is
So then
the
once then we send them out. Amongst the future discussions that are still pending was one of the things was homework. We had talked about adding that on into our discussions. So that was one of the things that is an item pending. And one of the other ones was, since everybody has heard of Equifax, and there's one person coming out, there's one company coming out every other day who's had its data breached. We had wanted to know what, since we went to Chromebooks, what we were doing to protect the privacy of our students as much as we can. And I think we all understand, if Equifax and every other big thing is, but whatever steps we need to take to protect their privacy, I thought we just wanted an update, kind of what was going on, what we were doing.
We're working on that right now to bring information to the board on the systems we're involved in, and some of them we're required to be involved in, and what safety protocols we have in place to keep that information as safe as possible.
Oh, yes. And any other topics for future discussions?
Yeah, I was just curious if there were anything to share on the Education Foundation.
Do we have them on the presentation list? We have all of them on presentation lists, right? Huh?
I don't remember when it is.
Yeah, I'll work with Jill and have a report.
I mean, if there isn't, there isn't. But if there is,
right.
I think they're all due for, they give it the once a year update.
We'll bring some information on where they're at. Process with that. Good question.
And the other announcement, isn't there also like the principals read to the kids at the libraries coming up too? Check the dates. I don't remember whose it was.
Yeah.
On what night.
That's always very popular. Go out and watch.
It is popular. Get there early.
Yeah.
Anything else? Jason?
Nope.
Jeff? Matt? Wes?
Good.
No? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Robin. Any questions? Anybody want to stay? Seconded by Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?